Hello everyone, and welcome to this Let's Play of Kaiserreich, Legacy of the Weltkrieg for Hearts of Iron 4. And today I will be playing as the Kingdom of Portugal. On the 1st of January 1936, Portugal is being led by King Duarte II and is under a national populist dictatorship led by the political party Integralismo Lusitano. And I have one national spirit, Base Sem Honra. Justify war goal time minus 0 back. Justify war goal time minus 5.0%. Humiliated during the Weltkrieg and again during the Second Ultimatum, most of the world considers Portugal to be a second-rate power that was fortunate enough to maintain its territorial integrity. However, this opinion is not shared by most senior cabinet members. Speaking of the cabinet, here it is down here. My prime minister and head of government is Francisco Roland Preto. My foreign minister is Afonso Lopes Vieira. My economy minister is Alberto Mansras. My minister of interior is José Hipólito Vaz Raposo. And my minister, or my head of military intelligence, is Luis Carlos de Lima de Almeida Braga. So let me pick a national focus. I'll go with the Portuguese army. Portugal's performance in the Weltkrieg was shameful at best and dreadful at worst. This was because of the treacherous Republican politicians who had gotten in the way of our top generals and honorable soldiers. No longer shall we allow our reputation to be tarnished. Effect, army experience plus 20. I'll do it. Let me set some research. I'll research support level 1, motorized, and Weltkrieg era 10. Let me build some military factories in metropolitan Portugal, including the islands of Madeira and the Azores. I'll build one in Portuguese Guinea as well. And let me trade some steel with Sweden. Okay. Also, let me train some soldiers. I'm going to train some units of Divisão de Caçadores and Divisão de Infantaria. And I'll deploy them in metropolitan Portugal. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Okay, that's a bug. Let me fix it. Okay, let's continue. Okay, now let's continue. Okay. The Kingdom of Portugal. After the disaster in the Weltkrieg and the collapse of our forces in Mozambique and France, Portugal's usurper republic simply lacked the face and the military support to resist the glorious restoration, which brought Manuel II back to the throne, and his once rival claimant Duarte Nuno as his heir. The restoration, which occurred shortly after the war's end, saw the beginning of recovery for the economy. However, reliance on British imports and exports was too great for Portugal to properly weather the storm of 1925. We were unable to even unite our lands after the fall of the British Empire, for Germany, in an act of aggression, seized those lands. With such an extensive political crisis on his hands, the then Prime Minister Pavia Cusieiro called for elections. The victorious integralists have an extensive reform agenda, while viciously anti-republican policies have polarized opinions even amongst the most staunch monarchists. However, they deferred the king for now, and they claim that they will do so indefinitely. Spain's sickness seems to never end, as more chaos looms in the world and threatens Portugal. In Africa, Hermann von Goering and his Hunnic goons sabotage our endeavors, forcing our hand to return the favor, and tensions are fast escalating. But no matter what may come, we trust that Portugal will stand tall. Avante. Okay, let's continue. Now I am going to set up my army.
Pronto para a ação.
Let's start with my units in metropolitan Portugal.
Pode contar conosco.
I'll set the majority of these units along the border with the Spanish region of Galicia. Okay. That's not good. Let me read this. The Mozambique situation. During the Weltkrieg, the situation in Africa was truly paradoxical. The war in East Africa ended in a stalemate, where the Entente occupied German East Africa, while the Germans occupied our Mozambique. Both sides recruited thousands of Africans from enemy territory as porters, armed guards, or soldiers. And after the war, the Huns led cruel reprisal attacks on the natives that joined our side. Since then, thousands of those natives had fled over the border into Mozambique, where they now live in camps. These natives are a good opportunity to sow mischief in Middle Africa, as many of them still want revenge for what the Huns did to them. Let's drop a plan. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm going to have the majority of my soldiers and units in metropolitan Portugal, along the border with Spain, and along the border of the Spanish region of Galicia. And I'll create an invasion plan. There.
Diga-me o que tenho de fazer.
And I'll have this one unit along the rest of the border with Spain.
Pode contar conosco.
There we go. Now let me look at my units
Às suas ordens.
in the colonies.
Qual é o plano?
Let me create a new theater for this guy.
Às suas ordens.
Let me create a new army for
Pronto
this
para a
guy.
ação.
Okay, there we go.
Qual é o plano? Guardo as suas ordens. Guardo as suas ordens.
Alright. Let me assign some generals
Sim,
to my colonial armies.
do que precisa.
Okay, so in 1936, Portugal still has a very large empire outside of the metropolitan regions. And the metropolitan regions include basically the Portuguese nation itself in Europe, which includes the islands of the Azores and Madeira. These are the Azores, and Madeira is right down here. Now let's look at the colonies. Okay, interesting. Okay, so the colonies include in Western Africa, Portuguese Guinea, known in the modern day as Guinea-Bissau, and Cabo Verde, also known as Cape Verde, or Cape Verde. In Portuguese, though, it's known as Cabo Verde. And we also have São Tomé e Príncipe, right here. And in Central Africa, we have Portugal's two main colonies in Africa. In the west of Africa, we have Angola, with its capital of Luanda, or Luanda. And in the east, we have Mozambique, with its capital of Lourenço Marques, known in the modern day as Maputo. And in Asia, Portugal has a number of colonies as well, including Goa in India, right here, Goa, as well as some other enclaves. Okay, that's interesting. So in India, Portugal has Goa, and, as well as some other enclaves here that aren't shown on the map. And Portugal also owns in Indonesia East Timor, which is bordered by the Dutch East Indies. And in Portuguese, East Timor is known as Timor-Leste. And in China, Portugal has the colony of Macau. Right here. There it is. Right there in southern China, right across from Hong Kong. So those are basically all of Portugal's colonies. And even though Portugal lost the Weltkrieg in this timeline, Portugal still has its empire. And it's pretty big. Not as big as, say, Germany's, but it's still pretty big. Speaking of Germany, Portugal's main concern at the moment is the German colony of Middle Africa, led by the megalomaniacal Hermann von Goering, who basically rules the entire colony as his own fiefdom, as his own personal fiefdom. And he certainly has designs on the Portuguese colonies of Angola and Mozambique. So we got to be wary of what Goering has planned, because it can't be good. On the other hand, South Africa, they're not really a threat to Portugal. And also, interesting things could happen if Spain collapses into a civil war, as Spain is Portugal's only neighbor in Europe. Anyways, let's look at my focus tree. I'm going to go with infantry equipment renewal. A modern fighting force required much more than just guns. In the wet banks of the Zambezi, shoes are a regular necessity. Shoes are a greater necessity than tanks. Ensuring our troops are equipped with the best equipment will not only increase their effectiveness, but will also increase their morale as well. And this will give me 1x 200% research bonus for infantry weapons. Let me do it. Now let me assign my admirals. Okay, that's interesting. I have one fleet in metropolitan Portugal. Uh-oh. Black Monday hits Portugal. While economic ties between us and Germany have never been as large or interconnected as with other European nations, the cascade effect of the Black Monday crisis has hit Portugal with great force. With an economy mostly based on agricultural exports, and most industries focused on the rearmament plan, our usual consumers cannot afford our products, and thus Portugal's economic situation is yet again in dire straits. Let us hope that we've learned much from our lessons of the 26 crisis, and that we can hopefully recover much quicker this time. This spells trouble. Okay, and this gives me a national spirit known as Black Monday, which gives me consumer goods factories 10%, production efficiency cap minus 20.00%, and the same for factory output. Due to its mostly agrarian economy, Portugal has suffered greatly from the fallout of Black Monday. Okay, now let me assign my admirals. Now I have one fleet in metropolitan Portugal, and I have another one in the colonies, right here in Portuguese Guinea. There we go. Okay, restoration of democracy. Restoration of democracy in Australasia. That's good. And a few other things is... Oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, like I've said, a few other things have happened in the world. So apparently the Bonapartes have come back to power in France. Or as I should say, national France, which is now known as the French Empire. That's pretty cool. And also there was electoral gridlock in the Commune of France. Oh, and apparently Benoit Frachon is the leader of the Commune of France. That's cool. And, okay, Prince George is the Governor General of Australasia, and the Prime Minister is Earl Page. And Australasia is under a market liberal government. So, okay, interesting. So perhaps the most interesting thing about Portugal in the Kaiserreich timeline is that in this world, as a result of Portugal losing the First Weltkrieg, or as we know it, the First World War, the monarchy in Portugal was restored. And this actually does have a lot of real-life precedent, as immediately after World War I, in 1919, there was an attempt in the north of Portugal to restore the Portuguese monarchy and overthrow the Republic. And it was known as the Monarchy of the North. And it only lasted for like 1 month or something in 1919, right after World War I. And it was unsuccessful, and the Portuguese Republic survived. But in this world, the Portuguese monarchy was restored. And it's not surprising that that happened, considering in real life, the Portuguese Republic, in its early years, was very politically unstable. So it's not surprising here that as a result of Portugal losing the First Weltkrieg, that, you know, the monarchy would have more of, you know, more momentum, basically, to overthrow the Republic of Portugal. Anyways, let me read this. The chance for mischief in our rightful territories. There is a great opportunity for us to cause instability in Middle Africa by arming angry, displaced natives who live in camps in Mozambique. The more unstable Middle Africa is, the better chance we have to retake our rightful territories, shown in the pink map. Crack down on these hooligans. That'll give me minus 5.00 stability, but I don't care. As I really, I don't want to poke the bear, so to speak. And that bear is Hermann von Goering. I'm just not ready for a war with German Mittelafrika. And I'm planning on Middle Africa collapsing anyway, so I'll take over different parts of what was once Middle Africa after the whole thing collapses. I'm going to do this. Regia Marinha. Our navy, while undergoing expansion during the Weltkrieg, is still not capable of properly defending our overseas provinces, nor our coastline. Relying on allied navies may not be an option available to us, so we must act now. And this will give me plus 30 navy experience. Let me do it. Okay. I'll research Grand Battle Plan Doctrine, or I could research Mass Assault Doctrine. I'll just research Grand Battle Plan. Okay, the Mock Click declared war in Mongolia. Interesting. Okay, now the Mock Click declared war in Chongqing Tangguo. Interesting.
minha paixão, como a sentinela alerta, noite e dia sempre alerta.
The Colonial Exposition of 1936. Thousands have gathered for Portugal's first large-scale colonial exposition. While the kingdom's restoration and other trials and tribulations it has been forced to endure have challenged it, Portugal did not shy away from its civilizing burden and redoubled its efforts to improve the ultramarine provinces, which are essential as Porto or Lisbon. Many wonders are trinkets from all over the world. Many wonders and trinkets from all over the world have been brought to Lisbon for the occasion, including an entire Angolan village as an anthropological curiosity. While the endeavor was expensive, it reinforces our commitment to the colonial cause. Grant. Political power plus 50. So yeah, that's very interesting. So the ideology of the integralist Kingdom of Portugal here is that basically the Portuguese colonies, like Angola and Mozambique in Africa, among others, are basically essential parts of Portugal, no different from metropolitan Portugal. And this, again, has some... Oh, that's interesting. Once again, this has, like, a historical basis, as in real life, during this time, the Portuguese government, basically their philosophy was that the Portuguese colonies, including, once again, Angola and Mozambique, were basically essential parts of Portugal, no different from the Portuguese provinces in Europe. And, you know, places like Angola and Mozambique weren't seen as colonies in the eyes of the Portuguese government. They were seen as basically essential, integral parts of Portugal. They were basically seen as Portuguese as Portugal itself, which is interesting because, well, the people there didn't seem to agree. As during the 60s and 70s, Angola and Portugal and Guinea-Bissau all rose up in rebellion against the Portuguese government, and that's how they got their independence. So let me research level 1 and anti-tank artillery. But yes, both in this world and in real life, Portugal basically viewed its colonies as integral parts of its nation, no different from the European provinces. Even though, as I said before, in real life, you know, the people in the colonies themselves didn't seem to agree. And the rest is history, as they say. Okay, what decisions do I have? Send in the army, solidify control. I'll save my political power. Okay, so the totalists are empowered in Great Britain. The Travailleurs are empowered in France, and the Christian Socialists are in power in the Socialist Republic of Italy. Let me do this. Ultramarine effort. Our overseas provinces, while a centerpiece of the restored government, still lag behind in many ways when compared to the mainland, and are in many ways threatened by those who envy what Portugal has done for her people. A new plan will be drawn up to ensure their safety and prosperity. Effect, game-based stability plus 5.00%, game-based war support plus 5.00%. Okay, apparently Iran has become a republic. That's pretty cool. And apparently Najd has annexed the Emirates and Bahrain and Qatar. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go for a military staff, a military chief of staff, and I'll go with who should I go with? Okay, interesting. I'll go with J.A. Silva Bastos. He'll give me recruitable population 0.50, and infantry division attack and defense plus 5.0%. And he's School of Mass Combat. I'll go with him. Okay,
Qual é o plano?
let me deploy this soldier to Africa. In fact,
O que precisa?
I'll make a new army out of him. And I'll send him to Mozambique.
Qual é o plano?
Continue. Boom. Okay. This is good. And
Sim.
this guy. There we go. Okay, Wallonia. I'm sorry. Wallonia has joined the Reichspakt. That's interesting. So apparently Belgium has split. Or Flanders-Wallonia has split into both Flanders and Wallonia. And Wallonia is still under King Adalbert, but Flanders is under the Raad van Vlaanderen. And I believe that translates to Flemish. I believe that translates from Dutch to English as Flemish Council. I believe that's the correct translation. Okay. Alright, this is interesting. Okay, I finished this focus. Stop. Okay. Poland elects a new king. Interesting. Time for a new focus. I'll go with manufacturing focus. Portugal has long been an agricultural nation, but the march of history will not wait for those longing for world peace. We must invest in factories as to preserve our sovereignty. 1x 100% research bonus for industry. I'll do that. Okay, Germany East Asia declared war on the Indo-Chinese Union. Interesting. Let's see how this plays out. Let me see if I can't train any more units at the moment. Okay, apparently the Second Russian Civil War just broke out. And it's the autonomists, led by Nikolai Bukharin, against the Russian Republic, led by Pyotr Wrangel. Pyotr Wrangel. Yeah, I think I pronounced that right. Okay. Oh, and apparently Finland is a national populous nation now. Interesting. I'll save my political power for later. Okay, Jabal Shamor. Jabal Shamar declared war on Najd. Interesting. I'll research towed artillery. I'll go with that. Let me go for Res Regulu regiments. Our vassal kings, loyal and thankful subjects, must realize that tensions between us and the Huns are quickly rising. If they do not arm their subjects, they risk falling under the yoke of the Hunnic butcher. And this will raise armed militia divisions with the help of our vassal chiefs or regulus in Africa. So let me do that. And when this focus is done, in about 70 days, I'll have new units in Africa. So that will definitely be a good thing for when I eventually decide to invade what's left of German Mittelafrika. And that will give me land in Zambia and Nyasaland and some other regions maybe, and that will connect my colonies of Angola and Mozambique and basically connect my east and west coasts of Africa. And that was a goal of Portugal during the scramble for Africa, but Britain beat Portugal to the punch basically by colonizing northern Rhodesia, which is now called Zambia, and Nyasaland, which is now called Malawi. And Portugal had this thing called the Pink Map, and that was basically their plan to colonize Zambia and Malawi as we know them now. But Britain found out about it and wasn't happy, and Portugal was upset that they didn't get to connect their east and west coasts in Africa. But maybe here we'll be able to do that. We just gotta wait and see. In the meantime, I'm gonna have a chief of army. And I think I'll go with J.A. Labatu Guerra. He'll give me division organization and supply consumption. He'll give me division organization plus 10.0% and minus that for supply consumption. And Jose A.P. de Bellu gives me the same. He gives me the same stuff. So if I pick, J.A. Labatu Guerra and Jose A.P. de Bellu, they give me the same things. They give me the same things, I should say. I'll just go with Guerra. Because I think when I played Portugal last time, I went with de Bellu, so it's good to mix it up. And I'll research Grand Battle. So yes, outside of Africa, I do plan on conquering the region of Galicia in Spain. As Galicia is a region of Portugal, well, it's a region of Spain, obviously. But as I was saying, hang on. let me research Heavy Tank 1. Okay, as I was saying, I plan on invading Galicia, which is a region of Spain. And Galicia is a region of Spain, right above Portugal. But Galicia is a region of Spain that has a lot of historical ties and linguistic ties to Portugal. Because Galicia is actually the place where the Portuguese language originated many centuries ago. Basically that. So basically Galicia is a region where the Portuguese language originated from many centuries ago, and the Galician language bears many similarities to the Portuguese language. And I believe in the Middle Ages, Portugal used to own Galicia, but I could be wrong, I'm not sure. But basically, in spite of the fact that Galicia has many linguistic and historical and cultural ties to Portugal, it ended up becoming a part of Spain as opposed to a part of Portugal. And Galicia is similar to other regions of Spain, like the Basque Country, or Catalonia, or Asturias, or Aragon, in that they are culturally Spanish, yet culturally their own thing at the same time. So places like Galicia, Aragon, Catalonia, the Basque Country, Asturias, they're all Spanish, but they all have their own cultures within the Spanish nation, and these include their own languages. And all of these different regions and cultures basically became, a part of Spain over the centuries. And basically, all these different, countries on the Iberian Peninsula became united under the Kingdom of Castile and Leon and the Kingdom of Aragon. And basically, that's how Spain became a country. But Portugal was like the sole nation on the Iberian Peninsula that did not become a part of Spain. Even though Spain and Portugal were in a personal union for many years, in the 16th and 17th centuries, that only lasted for about 60 or 80 years, I believe. So there was a personal union in the past, many centuries ago, between Spain and Portugal. It lasted for about 60 or 80 years, but anyways, relatively speaking, it was only a short time that existed. And Portugal has continued to remain an independent country, unlike Catalonia or the Basque Country or Aragon or Asturias or Galicia. And they've basically, Portugal has remained its own country and has even created its own empire, colonizing many places around the globe and becoming one of the great empires of Europe, right alongside other countries like Spain or France or Britain or the Netherlands. So, unlike other parts of the Iberian Peninsula, Portugal didn't fall under Spanish rule and managed to become an empire of its own. Okay, Venice is revolting against Italy. Yeah, Venice is revolting against Legionnaire Italy. Usually Legionnaire Italy wins, but sometimes Venice can win too. Okay, let me look at my national focus tree. I'll go with expand our arsenal. We must increase our capacity for producing better quality weapons, as our enemies are ready. We must increase our capacity for producing better quality weapons, as our enemies are already ahead of us. We must increase our capacity for producing better quality weapons, as our enemies are already ahead of us. And this will give me in Porto 1 building slot and 1 military factory.
Pronto para a
Go
ação.
to Africa. Let me
Diga-me o que tenho
send
de fazer.
these troops north to the front lines. There we go. Creation of the International Avant-Garde. Interesting. Okay, low manpower. That's not good. Not at all. So as I mentioned before, Portugal has a pretty big empire as of 1936. And in real life, its African colonies like Angola and Mozambique and Guinea became independent in the 1970s. And Portuguese Guinea became Guinea-Bissau, and Angola and Mozambique became their own independent countries. This was all in the 70s. At that same time, Cabo Verde became independent as well. Same with São Tomé and Príncipe. And at that same time, East Timor was overtaken by Indonesia and later became independent in 2002. And Macau in China wasn't handed over to China until 1999. So 1999 was when the Portuguese Empire finally came to an end in real life. As for the Kaiserreich world, who knows? Oh, and in India, Goa was actually overtaken by the Indian military in 1961. And that also went for the other enclaves in India. So in 1961, Portugal basically lost all its colonies in India, and there was nothing they could do to get it back. So they just took the L, basically. And there is also another enclave that Portugal has in West Africa, in modern-day Benin, and that was overtaken, I believe, by the government of Benin in the 60s, and it was a small enclave around here. The name of it escapes me at the moment. But yeah, that's basically the Portuguese Empire in a nutshell.